My sister invited me to her baby shower only to publicly announce that my late husband is the father of her baby and demand half of my inheritance. So I showed her some documents that made her turn pale. Now our parents. So I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but here we are. For context, I, 34F, lost my husband, Daniel, 2 years ago in a car accident. We had been married for almost 8 years, and losing him broke me in ways I can't even describe. The only silver lining was that Daniel had been incredibly responsible with money. Between his insurance, investments, and the house we co-owned, I was financially stable. I wasn't rich, but I was secure. After his passing, my family's support was complicated. My parents were sympathetic at first, but they've always been the kind who value appearances more than feelings. My younger sister, Emily, 28F, wasn't much better. She has always been the golden child. Beautiful, bubbly, always in and out of relationships, always getting rescued by my parents when her impulsive decisions backfired. I distanced myself after Daniel's death because I couldn't deal with their constant passive-aggressive comments about me wallowing or holding onto the past. But last month, Emily invited me to her baby shower. She insisted she wanted to mend things and that it would mean a lot if I came. Against my better judgment, I said yes. The shower was at our parents' house, and everything seemed normal at first. Pink decorations, games, finger foods, lots of laughing. I kept to myself mostly, but I thought maybe this was finally a step toward healing with my family. Then came the announcement. Emily stood up in front of everyone, glowing and smug. She tapped her glass with a spoon and said, "I want to make this baby shower extra special by sharing who the father of my baby is." Everyone leaned in. She smiled directly at me. "It's Daniel." Yes, that Daniel. My sister's late husband. I swear, the room spun. People gasped. My mom actually clapped a hand over her mouth, and my dad looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him. Emily just stood there, hand on her belly, like she was proud of herself. Then she added, "Since Daniel is the father, it's only fair that I get half of his estate." I mean, my baby deserves that, right? It took me a second to process. First, the audacity of claiming my dead husband as her baby's father in front of all our relatives and family friends. Second, the disgusting entitlement of demanding a share of his estate like this was some business deal. Everyone turned to me, waiting for a reaction. Emily had this smug little smile, clearly expecting me to break down or maybe fight with her in front of everyone. Instead, I stayed calm. Because what Emily didn't know was that I had documents. See, a few months after Daniel died, I discovered something disturbing. Emily had tried to get close to him a few years back when her relationship at the time fell apart. She had sent him messages, flirty, inappropriate ones, which Daniel immediately shut down. He even told me about it, and we saved everything, just in case she ever tried something like this. On top of that, Daniel had a vasectomy after some medical complications, and I had the medical paperwork to prove it. So I took a deep breath, pulled the folder I had brought with me out of my bag, because with Emily, I always come prepared, and said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Interesting, Emily. Because here are the messages you sent to Daniel that he rejected. And here's the paperwork showing he couldn't have kids. Ever. So unless you're carrying the Messiah, your baby is not his." You could hear a pin drop. Emily's face drained of all color. Our mom gasped. Our dad looked like he wanted to crawl under the table, and some of the guests awkwardly excused themselves. Emily stammered something about lies and fake documents, but nobody was buying it. I just calmly packed my things, wished the guests a nice afternoon, and walked out. Now, the aftermath is messy. My parents have been calling nonstop, begging me to clarify things because people are talking. Apparently, Emily is furious with me for ruining her special day, and she still insists she's entitled to Daniel's estate. But I'm not backing down. If anything, this feels like the beginning of something much uglier. After the baby shower disaster, I thought maybe my parents would finally see Emily for who she really is. I mean, she humiliated herself in front of 30 people, tried to rewrite history, and made a disgusting cash grab. Surely, anyone with common sense would realize she'd gone too far. But nope. The very next day, my mom called me in tears. At first, I thought maybe she was apologizing for how things went down, but no. She said, "Sweetheart, you didn't have to humiliate your sister like that. She's pregnant. Do you realize the stress you put her under?" I literally had to pull the phone away from my ear. "Mom," she stood up and lied about my dead husband in front of everyone. What did you expect me to do? Clap for her. Her voice got sharp. It doesn't matter what she said. You could have handled it privately. Now people in our community are gossiping about our family. Emily's reputation is ruined. I was stunned. My father's voice chimed in the background, mumbling something about how a family's dirty laundry shouldn't be aired in public. Basically, they were more embarrassed that their friends now know their youngest daughter is a liar than they were angry about what she tried to pull. Then came the kicker. My mom lowered her voice and said, "Look, Emily made some poor choices. But if she believes Daniel is the father, maybe there's more to the story than you realize. You were always so busy with work. What if something happened between them?" I felt like I'd been slapped. The implication was clear. My own parents were willing to believe I was oblivious to some secret affair rather than accept that Emily fabricated the whole thing. I snapped. I told them about the vasectomy again, the medical records, the texts where Emily threw herself at Daniel and got rejected. I even offered to send them copies. They didn't want to see them. My dad just muttered, "Paperwork can be faked." At that point, I realized they weren't just choosing to ignore the truth, they were choosing Emily. Again. Like always. Later that night, I got a long, rage-filled text from Emily. "I can't believe you'd humiliate me like that. This was supposed to be my special day. You're just jealous that, even though Daniel is gone, he still chose me in the end. Mom and Dad agree with me. You owe me an apology. And if you don't give me what's rightfully mine, I'll get a lawyer involved." The audacity. The delusion. I didn't respond. Instead, I called my own lawyer the next morning. She basically laughed when I showed her the documents and explained the situation. "She doesn't have a case at all," my lawyer said. "But if she tries to drag you into court, we'll crush her." Still, I can't shake the feeling this isn't over. Emily's never been told no in her life, and my parents will bend over backwards to defend her. The fact that they're now calling me cruel and vindictive for defending my late husband's memory says everything. Part of me wonders if cutting ties entirely is the only way forward. But another part knows Emily won't stop until she either gets money or completely destroys me. For about a week after the baby shower, things were quiet. Too quiet. I thought maybe Emily had finally realized she'd embarrassed herself enough and would crawl back into the hole she dug. But no, Emily doesn't retreat. She doubles down. One morning, I got a letter delivered to my door. A lawyer's letterhead on the envelope. My stomach dropped for a second, but once I started reading, I almost laughed. It was from some bargain bin attorney Emily had clearly hired. The letter demanded that I immediately release half of the estate of the late Daniel last name to Emily on behalf of her unborn child, who has a biological and legal right to the inheritance. It also threatened to take me to court if I didn't comply within 30 days. I forwarded it to my lawyer, who called me within the hour, half amused, half exasperated. "This is nonsense," she said. "First of all, you're the legal spouse. Everything already passed to you by law. Second, even if her baby was Daniel's, which we know it isn't, inheritance claims don't work this way. This letter isn't worth the paper it's printed on." That should have calmed me down. Instead, it made me furious. Because Emily wasn't just trying to scam me, she was trying to drag Daniel's name through the mud, and by extension mine. When I refused to respond to the letter, Emily went full scorched earth. She started posting vague Facebook rants about how her sister stole everything from her and her child. She told relatives that I'd forged the medical paperwork, that Daniel and I had a loveless marriage, and that Daniel had confided in her that he wanted to leave me. It was grotesque. And the worst part? Some people actually believed her. My aunt called me, half apologetic, half gossipy, asking if it was true that Daniel had been cheating on me all along. My parents, of course, locked it all up. Emily wouldn't lie about something so serious. My mother sniffed when I confronted her. I was boiling. I didn't want to dignify Emily's lies with more drama, but she was leaving me no choice. That's when I remembered something. Daniel had left me his journals. He used to write everything down, frustrations at work, his love for me, his worries about Emily's behavior. In one entry, written 2 years before his accident, he described how Emily had tried to kiss him when she came over drunk, and how disgusted he felt. He wrote, "If I ever die first, I hope never lets Emily manipulate her. She's dangerous when she wants something." Reading that again lit a fire in me. I scanned the entry and sent it to my lawyer, along with all the other documents, medical records, texts, everything. She told me, if she actually tries to take this to court, we'll bury her with evidence. But here's the thing, Emily isn't stupid. Reckless, yes. Manipulative, yes. But she knows she can't win legally. What she can do is turn the family against me. And it's working. My parents sent me a long email basically disowning me unless I make peace with Emily. They said if I really loved Daniel, I'd honor him by caring for his child, even if it came from complicated circumstances. I almost threw my laptop across the room. There is no child of Daniel's. But it doesn't matter. They've already decided to believe Emily's fantasy because it's easier than facing reality. I feel like I'm living in some twisted soap opera, and the worst part? The baby's due date is coming up. I have this sinking feeling Emily is planning something big when the baby is born. Something she thinks will prove her story. And I'm going to be ready for it. Emily's due date came quicker than I expected. By that point, half my extended family wasn't speaking to me. My parents were barely civil, constantly parroting Emily's line about how a child should never be punished for the mistakes of adults. Translation: give Emily money. I kept my distance, but I knew what was coming. And I was right. The night Emily gave birth, I got a text from my mom at 2 a.m. He looks just like Daniel. You need to step up and do the right thing. I didn't even respond. Instead, I called my lawyer first thing in the morning. Sure enough, by the end of the week, Emily had formally requested that I acknowledge her son as Daniel's heir. She even sent me baby pictures side by side with old photos of Daniel, insisting the resemblance was undeniable. The whole thing would have been laughable if it wasn't so insulting. Here's where things flipped. Emily got cocky. She filed a petition in family court, asking for a portion of Daniel's estate for her son. My lawyer was thrilled, because now everything had to go on record. And with that came one thing Emily couldn't wriggle out of: a DNA test. At the hearing, Emily strutted in like she was about to win an Oscar. She kept looking at me with this smug little smirk, like she'd already beaten me. I stayed calm. My lawyer presented the documentation about Daniel's vasectomy, the journals, the messages Emily sent him, all of it. The judge ordered a DNA test anyway, to settle this matter definitively. Emily paled. For the first time, she looked nervous. 2 weeks later, the results came back. 0% chance Daniel was the father. 0. None. Not even a distant relation. When the judge read it out, Emily tried to argue the test was tampered with. My lawyer shut that down instantly. The court dismissed her claim as baseless and ordered her to pay my legal fees. It should have ended there. But of course, Emily couldn't just take the loss. She broke down screaming in the courthouse lobby, accusing me of stealing her future and turning everyone against her. My parents rushed to comfort her while glaring at me like I'd just murdered someone. That was the moment I decided I was done. I walked over, looked my parents dead in the eye, and said, "You wanted the truth? Here it is. Daniel never touched Emily. Her baby is not his. And if you still choose to believe her lies, then you've lost me too." And then I left. That was 6 months ago. I've cut off contact with Emily completely. My parents still send the occasional guilt-tripping email, but I don't answer. Some relatives reached out privately to apologize after the DNA results came out, but the damage is done. As for Emily, word got around about the court case. Most of her friends bailed. The guy who actually fathered her child hasn't stepped up, and now she's scrambling for money while still trying to play the victim. Meanwhile, I'm at peace for the first time in years. Daniel's memory is safe, and I've stopped wasting energy on people who'd rather believe convenient lies than face hard truths. I lost my parents and my sister in the process. But honestly, I think I gained my freedom. If this story kept you hooked, give it a like, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more.